Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and I don't have to marry an asshole. It's the 80s. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend.
This week, we are dorking out about 1988's Mystic Pizza. This was a request from one of my long friends. I don't like to say oldest friends, long friend, and longtime listener of the show, and what a creep. She asked, it was Jennifer Moline, and she asked for Mystic Pizza. Okay, it's directed by Donald Petrie, and it is written by Amy Jones, with some other rewrites from Perry and Randy Howes and Alfred Ulrich. I think I got it right. It looks right. Crazy stories about Amy Jones, by the way. We'll get into that in a little bit. And it stars Annabeth Gish, Julia Roberts, Lily Taylor, Vincent D'Onofrio, William R. Moses, Adam Stork. I have thoughts about him in a little bit. Conchata Farrell.
Conchetta.
Damn, I suck. Did you see this movie in the theater, Margo? Let's start with that.
Absolutely. I saw this in the theater. And I think it's because Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up. And I was dying to see, you want to know why chick flicks were a thing?
Yeah.
Because they didn't come out very often, or they weren't always very good.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a chick flick that wasn't a super comedy. It wasn't a caper. Right. They weren't on a heist. They're not taking out an ex-husband. It's just 3 women as friends. It's like Diner. It's just friends going through their lives. And you don't see that very often. And I thought, and I was just super, super into it. And I thought all the actresses, I was like, oh, they're all going to be stars. I knew Julia Roberts was going to be a star.
For sure.
I remember thinking that. Yeah, she has so much charisma. It's like disgusting almost how much she just has. But anyway,
leave some for the rest of us. Julia Roberts' hair.
Yeah. Julia Roberts' smile, which could be its own star in the universe. So bright. She's so pretty. Yeah, I at the time, I was young.
Yeah.
I really, really liked it. And then it was one of those movies that when it came out on video, I was like stalking the video store because they only got like 2 copies of that.
Right.
And 10 of Lethal Weapon, or 100 of Lethal Weapon. The women in my neighborhood were like starved.
I was wondering what movie you were going to pick as the alternative.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm trying to think what it was, but it was a sleeper hit.
Mm-hmm. And
I know a lot of women like this movie. It's about friends and stuff like that. I've seen it a few times over the years. I've been to Mystic Pizza. I forgot to say, I should have led with that. I've been to that place. It's like it's filmed in a different location, but I've had Mystic Pizza and it's delicious. And I'm a pizza snob.
The pizza in this movie looks really, really good.
Oh God, does it look good? So watching it again, it was just different. I mean, it's a little more dated than I thought it would be, but it's over 30 years ago. So what can you do? But what did you think?
I saw it in the theater, too. I was working at the movie theater at the time, so it was playing at my theater, so I could see it for free. And I felt so cool because I brought my mom and my sister, like cool people do, and saw Mystic Pizza. And of course, same as you, right? I super loved it because there weren't these kinds of movies out there for us, for younger people, for especially younger women. It's right. You're the girlfriend in Lethal Weapon or whatever. They didn't make a lot of chick flicks, like you said. And this is before, cable, where maybe Lifetime existed, but there wasn't a lot of options for us. Kind of like teenage movies, how we were all freaking out for movies with teenagers because there was no Dawson's Creek or 90210 or any of those things.
Right.
It's the same with Mystic Pizza. I was excited to see younger women talking about their issues. Now, unfortunately, watching it as an adult, I was like, all their issues revolve around men, and that's a bummer.
It's a big problem. Yeah. It's a bummer. It doesn't pass the Bechdel test. Is that how it's pronounced? I never know how it's pronounced because all of their problems do revolve around men, and the men fix their problems for them. And there's also the William R. Moses character, who I've always liked from Little House on the Prairie. My cousin Terry, God bless her, she's she passed. That was like her big crush of all time.
Really? Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
So I remember we used to talk about this. She's go, oh my God, I've seen it like 3 times already. He looks great, but he's obviously a fucking creep.
Oh my
like,
God.
Such
a creep. If you haven't seen Mystic Pizza.
Spoiler.
Stop the movie. Go watch Mystic Pizza. Come back. We're going to be spoiling this very old movie. Very old. So old. It's ancient.
Yes.
And it stars, like I said, I already mentioned who it stars. But anyway, there's these 2 sisters, Kat and Daisy, and they're like BFF, JoJo, and they all work at Mystic Pizza in this like small fishing town, Mystic, Connecticut. And there's a thing in this movie also that they're all Portuguese. Like, and I think
that made them really ethnic.
Apparently that made them really ethnic. I'm like,
that was part of it.
We're going to get in. I think we'll get into that a little bit.
That's like basically French, but okay. Go ahead.
I'm like, we're going to talk about that. So, and they each kind of have their own little story and they all involve men, right? So JoJo, Lily Taylor, it opens with her like fainting at her wedding. She's marrying Bill, which is Vincent D'Onofrio, who I guess was the only like kind of name star at the time of this movie because he had done like Full Metal Jacket. But before that,
he's the big star.
He's the big star. And she loves Bill and she wants to be with him and she wants to fuck him all the time, but she is afraid to get married. Like she thinks it's too much commitment. She doesn't want to have kids. She's not there yet. And then we have Annabeth Gish, and she is Kat, and she's the good girl, quote unquote good girl. You know, she's super smart. She works a ton of jobs. She's been accepted to Yale. But her story, too, it revolves around her developing this relationship with the married man who's 30, and she works as his babysitter. And she, by the way, Annabeth Gish, 16 when they filmed this movie. Like,
stop it. I didn't even look that up.
16.
Oh, my God.
I was like, she was just a baby. So on top of, like, even behind the scenes, it was kind of like, oh, boy. Ooh. And then we have Daisy, and that's Julia Roberts. And this is before Pretty Woman, and she's the wild one. And by wild, I mean slutty. She's slutty. She sleeps with people. Ew. Hee hee. It's like a reoccurring thing in the movie to like try to slut shame Daisy, which is not cool. And her story also revolves around a guy because a rich guy comes to town and she flirts with him, picks him up, like hustles some pool with him at the local bar, and, you know, hilarity ensues. Let me ask you, have you ever like hustled a pool table away from a guy?
No, I'm terrible at pool, and I've had many people try to teach me.
Yeah.
And I basically turn into like Inspector Clouseau. Like I fall on my face, the ball flies someplace. I'm not cool. I had a friend named Jonah who was a hustler.
Yeah.
And she actually put herself through college.
Oh my God. That's some color money shit right there.
She's tiny and beautiful. I think she's Filipino. And we would go to bars, and Jonah was like our guy magnet because she was really cute, but she was like focused, laser focused on the pool table.
That's hilarious.
And so people would watch her, and she was really, really good. That's how she met her husband. We were all there that night.
I need to learn how to play pool.
Yeah, it's a good guy magnet.
Yeah, my sister is really, really good at pool, and sometimes we would go to bars and you want to play pool, but you have to like win the table from someone, you know, and so she would go up to inevitably dudes who are playing and be like, I'll play you for this table, you know, and then kind of be like, I'm not really good, hee 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 hee, and then proceed to like bam, 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 like knock in every ball and take their table. And I'm like, suckers. Like she was really good at it. I am not.
In my head, I can do that. But no.
I could do that if we were bowling. If we went bowling, I would do that. I'm a pretty good bowler.
Do that either.
I have trophies. I don't want to brag, but I'm a really good bowler. Well, I used to be. Anyway, back to the movie. But Julia Roberts is like such a star in this movie. She looks beautiful. Her hair is like, it's Julia Roberts-ist. It's all big and curly and probably super hairsprayed. It looks amazing. And they pair her up with this dude. He has no he has no charisma. I'm sorry. I'm sure he's a perfectly nice gentleman. That actor has no charisma, in my opinion. Go ahead.
I don't think so. I don't agree. I don't know if he's the right person for this part.
Yeah.
I think you need more of a William Zabka type. Maybe he was busy, but it's that very East Coast patrician, hoity-toity. I mean, people have people in in that part of Connecticut are stupid rich. And he's also in The Stand. He plays Larry in The Stand. He was in Death Becomes Her. He's that gif, like people do that gif, like he's the guy that just about to say something that covers his mouth, like that's him in a gif. I don't know. He didn't bother me. I think it bothers me. Well, we'll go to the end, at the resolution. But yeah, but I know guys like him, he's just a total asshole.
That is so interesting. I think you're looking at it like this is the realistic choice.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it as Julia Roberts is such a star that I think they could have cast someone with just a little bit more personality to offset
they had
it.
Matt Damon in there. A little baby Matt Damon.
Little tiny
12.
Little baby Matt.
He looks like a kid.
I'm your brother.
He just shows up in a scene. I'm cracking up, oh my God, it's Matt Damon.
I totally forgot Matt Damon was in this movie, and he's only in it for a second. But when he shows up, you're like, holy shit! Matt Damon!
This is legit! We're in New England! Wow!
How do you like them apples? Yeah, so I wasn't a fan of that guy, but I understand what you're saying. Then he decides that he really likes Daisy, and he asks her out by just stalking her and showing up at her house and talking to her mother and making things uncomfortable. And they go on a date, and she puts on this dress that she bought for $160. And it's got it's a black dress with a giant white bow on the front. And then she's got the tag on it, and she's like, I'm just going to wear it and then return it or whatever. What do you think of that dress with the giant bow?
There's a lot of fashion choices they give Daisy. This is 1988. Not a great time for fashion. She wears the high heels with the black hose and the short skirt. She wears a pink acid wash jacket that I'm sure I owned.
Yeah.
In 1988. I mean, but she's still Julia Roberts. She just smiles and she's so pretty. You're like, whatever.
I would love to make fun of her dress, but I totally wore a dress like that to prom.
Absolutely.
It was black velvet, but the bow wasn't white. It was big and black, off the shoulder, satin thing. So, and I had also really big Julia Roberts hair at the time.
I thought I was going to say something else.
I had really, really huge tits. No. No. Hair. The biggest hair. And it was blonde at the time. So I had really big blonde hair. And I totally wore that kind of a dress to the prom. So I can't even make fun of her. It's so 80s is my point.
It's a very 80s movie.
Yes. It's such an 80s movie. So not a fan of that guy. Let's see. I think Annabeth Gish is adorable. They all are, to be honest.
Everybody drink.
They all are, but she's really, really good in this. They all are. They're all going to be stars, but I single her out. She
stands out.
Because I think she stands out because she makes I don't know, just one of those mistakes. We haven't all slept with a married man, the father of the children we're babysitting. I don't think everybody's done that. Maybe they have.
Worried about? Did you ever think they were going to jump you? Because I had such a fear. Some of the dads, that would come home and I'll drive you home, Margo. I'll walk you home.
Yeah.
And a weird part of my brain, I'm like, what if he jumped me right now?
Yeah. It's because we watch Dateline.
Yeah. Well, also there's when a stranger calls, there's all kinds of scary stuff that happens. But yeah, I've had pervy dads say weird things to me.
Oh, for sure.
They come home drunk.
Yes. I was just going to say that they've gone out to dinner with their wife and they've had a few, and then
Yeah.
decide that that's a great idea, that they should drive now and take the babysitter home, and we're riding home with these drunk drivers.
Oh my
The 80s.
Jesus, yeah.
But
Anyway,
I think she's really great in the movie. And the scene where, you know, she hooks up with him, she sleeps with him, and of course that's when his wife comes home, right? And he doesn't do anything about it, and she's naive, and she's like thinking that he's gonna be like, I know, I'm in love with the babysitter now or something. And he doesn't think of her that way because he's
shit.
Yeah, because he's gross. And she comes home and she's so brokenhearted, and she sits on the bed and she starts sobbing, and she just blurts out like, I'm so stupid. And just the way she said it, I was like, girl, I've been there. And
We've all been there.
I've been the girl that has blurted out, I'm so stupid. Shit, I just fucking blurted that out a couple months ago. Like, I still do that. And I've been the Julia Roberts character who's sitting with someone who's blurting out that like sobbing and saying, I'm so stupid. It's just such a real moment in that movie, and she's so good at it.
Yeah, she's wonderful. And then Lily Taylor, the characters, you know, they're Portuguese. So it's a whole thing is that they're super Portuguese, like, you know. It's a big ethnic deal where they live. It's like either you're white or you're waspy or you're Portuguese. And she's got this perfectly nice Portuguese boyfriend. Vincent D'Onofrio must be a giant because Lily Taylor's very petite, and he just engulfs her.
I think he is a giant. I feel like he's one of those actors that's always like super towers over everybody.
Yeah. He's an adventurous in babysitting.
Yeah, he's
Thor.
I think he's very cute.
So do I. I'm in. I'm in.
I would do that.
Yeah, I'd be all over that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he passes tall. That's usually like the first hurdle for me, just because I'm tall and clumsy. But anyway,
being tall is half the battle.
It's just, I've made out with so many losers just because they were tall. It's oh my God.
I know.
Anyway.
Same.
Anyway, so she's engaged to him. They're having sex. They're Catholic, I suppose. And then she faints at the wedding. She says it's too soon. And it's like, yeah, because you're young. Like, wait a couple of years till you get married. Save up some money.
Yeah.
Why are they pushing this? But it's this whole lifestyle. Like, when you get married, you have kids, and you just keep doing that. Like, and then is the mother divorced?
Daisy and Kat's mother? I think she is.
Or widowed. She's a single parent. And it's constantly said, you know, the Kat's the good one, the smart one. Mm-hmm. Daisy's the slut. Daisy's a problem. What are we going to do about Daisy? Which doesn't help her self-esteem.
No.
And they give her this boyfriend in the movie. The movie decides they all have to have boyfriends, and everybody's this is like just what their struggles are. And he invites her to his family's home. I always thought this was an interesting choice. He takes her to his home, and his family's a bunch of racist shitheads. We kind of figured.
You know what? There's an interesting thing going on at this table at this family dinner, though, where it's like. He says something about, well, at least there's nothing wrong with having a job. That's what the dad says when it's revealed that Daisy works as a waitress at the pizza place, and which is a total dig at boyfriend because he cheated in law school and got kicked out, which that makes him quite the fucking loser right now. But that whatever. Good on dad for calling him out, I guess, and busting his balls for being shitty. And he's like, oh, well, my dad worked as a steam pipe fitter or something. And now and I was like, well, that sounds all right to me. It sounds like your dad worked his way up and earned his living. And the kid is kind of shitting on him for it. And I was like,
totally.
And I was like, what a dick. And then, like, what is it? Like one of those drunk aunts starts blurting out racist shit.
Yeah, and then Daisy's uncomfortable because she's in this very, and she's friends with the maid that works there. Like they went to school together or something. But I loved this when I first saw it because I didn't expect this to happen. But she walks out on him. Mm-hmm. She's like, fuck this, and leaves. And then he's like, yeah, isn't my family terrible? She goes, they're just being themselves. Mm-hmm. You're the one that's using me. You're the asshole in this situation. which I thought was like that had a lot of that took some, self-awareness.
Yeah.
And then she says to them, "Hey, can you give me a ride home?" And I'm sure she's thinking, "I'm in the middle of a meal right now that I have to serve, but okay, I'll take you home when I'm done with my shift." But I mean, but I really liked that. Like, she stood up for herself.
Yeah. I like that too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. That's when Julia Roberts I love Julia Roberts when she's angry. I just think she's so great when she's angry. That's my favorite Julia Roberts.
My favorite Julia Roberts is angry Julia Roberts.
When she's enraged, I'm never happier. Like, I could watch her just freak out. Love it. So then they break up sort of, and then her mother gives her this whole speech like, "I'm worried about you," and all she kind of says is, "I am too." I'm like, all right. And then we have, here's the thing. Mystic Pizza, it's delicious pizza, and the secret's in the sauce. Mm-hmm. And Conchetta Farrell has the sauce. And she's the one that, Leona, she's in charge of it. She won't tell them what's in the sauce. And then they have a whole thing that this guy that's a restaurant reviewer, if he came in here, we'd be famous. I'm like, shouldn't it already be famous if it's really that good? But because I know what those little towns are like. But anyway, he comes in and he's fastidious. He's just everything you think of, like if you're thinking of a food critic, how they behave. He's like from Casting 101. Like, we need a food critic. Okay, he's going to be bald and an asshole. Great.
You're hired.
You're hired, kid. And then he gives them this great review. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, there's a phone call. "Do you need reservations?" "No, because we're going to be rich." And then Lily Taylor's character does marry, we're spoiling here, Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah. And we're meant to be excited about that. Like, she's grown up in the last 2 months, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, all right. But then, of course, they have to bring Adam Stork back. And this is where I get annoyed. Yeah. Like, the guy's a shithead. She doesn't need him. Mm-mm. She could do better. But she's not going to kick. I mean, she's serving ice cream at the wedding. She can't be like, "Fuck you. I'm going to."
Yeah. I like that she put him to work.
Yeah. That's probably the only work he's done in his life. He did not look comfortable.
I like the version in my head where she does not take him back. She was just using him to serve ice cream.
I like that fan fiction.
I think that's really good. When Kat and the dad, she leaves after the dad and his wife comes back. He shows up eventually at the pizza place and he gives her a check for Yale.
I forgot about this.
Yeah.
I forgot completely about this. It's so disgusting. Yeah.
And she did babysit all summer, so technically,
okay,
but he does owe her money. But I'm sure
once?
I guess not. I don't know. And so he's like, "Yale's expensive, blah blah blah," and gives her this money that she then promptly rips up. And
good for her.
Yeah, good for her. And then Leona turns into like a fairy godmother and gives her
She's
money.
Like, "Hey, I have this check in my bra. I've been waiting to talk to you about this. This is for your expenses.
It's been here forever."
Yale.
So everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, so Kat's going to get that money because she and her partner, or husband or whatever, they've never had kids. So this is their investment in her.
Right.
And so it's the wedding, and they're having, the guests are having ice cream and the girls are having champagne, and they're out on the dock. And I just love Connecticut. I love, when you come out east, I got to take you and Calvin.
I would love
on a road trip. Yeah, we'll go up to Connecticut because Mystic Pizza. First, Mystic the town is adorable.
Aww,
Everybody drink. But they also have an aquarium, and they have penguins.
Ooh, I love penguins. They are some of my faves.
Cuckoo for penguins.
Me too.
We could go see the penguins, and we'll get some Mystic Pizza.
I love this idea.
Yeah,
I'm
road
in.
Trip. Yep.
Road trip.
Dorking out meetup, Mystic Pizza.
I love it. Let's all go, everybody. Come on.
They have no seating, by the way, in the real restaurant. Like, there's like 5 spots or something. So we'd all just be on the outside on a hill eating. But that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. In a post-COVID world, we're all used to eating outside now.
Yes.
It's fine.
This is true.
I did want to mention there's a part where Julia Roberts thinks rich guy is cheating on her, and she dumps like a whole bunch of fish in his car.
Yeah, that's not a great.
And then he and he's like, "Meet my sister, wah, wah. And he forgives her pretty quick.
Because he's a loser. He knows he's not going to get one of those high society girls. He's got a stink on him. Like the fish.
Like the fish.
Like the fish. He's got a stink on him. So he's got to have a plan B.
Yeah. I mean, they don't last. I will ask these questions. I always ask these questions. Like, do you think Charles and Daisy are still together? It's like, no. No. Daisy wisens up very quickly. Yeah. I'm not sure they make it out of that wedding as a couple. Like,
no.
He's not right for her. She needs someone.
No.
She needs someone a little bit more secure in himself, I guess.
Right.
Do you think JoJo and Bill are still together?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like 5 kids or something.
They're in love.
They have a litter. They're grandparents now. They're grandparents now, and I'm sure they're very happy.
Yeah, they're super young grandparents too.
They got married young.
Yeah, they're super cool grandparents. I will not be. I wanted to talk about the writer, Amy Holden Jones.
Yeah, what is the story? I don't know what the story is.
It's just that, so she wanted to direct, and so she made like a student film. Apparently it was in a film festival, like for students. Martin Scorsese was one of the judges. Like, her film did really well. After that, she contacted Martin Scorsese, like got a job working as his assistant on Taxi Driver. And then
I've heard of it.
Yeah, you heard of that one. And then he helped her like get some other jobs working for like Roger Corman and stuff like that. And she learned editing and she started getting into editing, but she really wanted to direct. And she was going to edit E.T. and apparently she walked away from it to have an opportunity to direct Slumber Party Massacre.
Oh, God.
Which, by the way, horror movie fans super love Slumber Party Massacre. I've never seen it. But, people do love it. And, and then she wrote Mystic Pizza, but they wouldn't let her direct it. Then she wrote and directed Made to Order, the one with Ali Sheedy that we've talked about before.
I love that movie.
Yeah. And then once again, like, even though she made this movie and it did pretty well, she did not get any directing offers and like went back to editing. Like, she's basically in the interview I read, she's pointing out how fucking sexist Hollywood was and probably and still is, right? She's like, I directed these movies that made money and I still couldn't get hired as a director. And that she said men who apprenticed for her as an editor would go on to direct movies and she couldn't get directing jobs. And I just thought it was fucked up.
That is such a fucked up thing.
I know.
Yeah, I remember I hear about, like, they don't do it as often, but film people used to always talk about the 70s and these renegades. They all had each other. I'm like, they're a bunch of white men that are connected and they helped one another. They didn't bring anybody of color along. They certainly didn't. They would have women as editors or screenwriters.
Yes.
I mean, they like that, but they didn't want any competition from women.
Yeah, it's exactly true.
Yeah,
I mean,
what I'm talking about.
It's not even. I would say it's not even that different. There was like this renaissance in the 90s too, with like Spike Lee and Quentin Tarantino and Kevin Smith and the whole, like, was it what was that book? It was like Slackers and what's the name of that book? Damn
it's like Mavericks, and it's like an indie jerk off thing.
There was one about the 70s that was like Easy Riders and Raging Bulls,
which is a good book.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a good book, and I love all those movies, but it does support the patriarchy.
Yeah, it was like
the one in the 90s was more about the indie scene, and it's still more about.
It was Spike, Mike, Slackers, and Dykes. That's what it was called. And this is true. Like, there was some, I think in the book, they feature like one woman, and it's that woman who wrote movies that were like about lesbians, basically, that hence the Dykes in the title. But like,
God,
but once again, it was really not about women. It was, all the Spike Lees and Kevin Smiths, and I think mainly focused on Merrimack stuff too, if I remember correctly.
Which is its own.
Michael
thing.
Moore, Spike Lee, Michael Moore.
I heard Michael Moore is a huge asshole.
I have heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Moore used to be one of those people that I felt like was fighting the good fight, but maybe not going about it the way a preferable way, I guess. But now I just think he's a prick.
Yeah, he's a prick.
A couple other rando things about the movie. That Julia Roberts originally auditioned for JoJo, and they decided to cast her as Daisy. Laura San Giacomo was also up for the role of JoJo or Daisy, but they felt that she was too hot for either role.
Lily Taylor's hot.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I think she's beautiful.
I think she is too. And I think she's super adorable in this. They all are. Poor Laura San Giacomo is awesome. And I think it's shitty to be like, you're too hot for this movie. Brr.
Well, they have to say something.
Right.
And so sometimes I guess it feels like a compliment.
Yeah.
You're just too pretty.
If you just weren't
so sexy.
If you weren't too smart and beautiful, you could have been in this movie.
Yeah, they have to say something. So
Yeah.
I give it a pass.
And then they were talking about making a musical based on Mystic Pizza, with Melissa Etheridge writing the score.
So one of them they don't have to be gay, but it would be interesting if one of them were gay.
Then at least it wouldn't be all about the men in their lives. There'd be a woman too.
You wouldn't have to see Adam Stork. There'd be no Stork. It'd be Storkless.
Oh my God, that would be the best part. If
Poor
Daisy
Adam Stork. I'm on your side, Adam. I think you were, but he reminds me in that part. He reminds me of every guy I went to high school with.
I totally understand it. And like I told you before we started recording, I was chatting about this movie with my sister, and my sister was like, no, he's exactly what he's supposed to be in that movie. And
yeah, he's a dick.
Yeah. And she's like, you're putting unrealistic expectations on him. And I was like, I guess.
And Julia Roberts is so young. I mean, she's just Julia Roberts, but like she's young and it's one of her first big roles. She has a lot of energy.
Yes.
She's in a stupid movie I love called Satisfaction, which came out before this, which I loved.
I love that movie. It is on our list
movie.
And it is not streaming anywhere. It's the only reason we haven't done it yet.
It's because of the music rights, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Liam Neeson's in it too, and Justine Bateman. I love
Liam
that
Neeson was her first boyfriend, she said. Meaning the first time she fucked a guy.
Woo!
Yep.
That's quite a first. That beats mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine was not Liam Neeson.
Wow, what a high bar that would be. Actually,
I know.
If you think about it. Wow, who do you date after that? Like he's gonna just look like an asshole. Oh man. All right. Anyway, what were we talking about? Yeah. So the movie did well, right?
Yeah.
It did really well. So of course Hollywood was like, well, we need more smart women movies. Nope.
They go through that every once in a while, and then they don't do anything about it.
Right.
I loved Satisfaction. That's good. Hurry up, cowards! Release Satisfaction. Damn it.
That was one of those movies I was on that cable box in my room that my dad stole cable from, and I watched it like 100 times with Hiding Out, Can't Buy Me Love, like all these weird white people movies. I watched them over and over again.
You know, I actually had a similar complaint about the actor that was opposite Julia Roberts in Sleeping with the Enemy, which we did.
Really bad.
Which we did an episode on too. And if you want to go back and listen to that one,
that's a good one.
It's a good one. We had a lot of fun with that one. And the actor, I can't even remember his name.
Patrick something or other?
Maybe I could look it up. That would be the responsible thing to do. I also thought like he was like totally whatever compared to her because she's Julia fucking Roberts. You are right.
A lot of guys.
Oh no, the husband is Patrick Bergen.
He stands up against her because he's playing the creep, but the boyfriend
is Kevin Anderson.
Kevin Anderson. A lot of guys don't. Yeah, she shrinks people. Like she's so big and magnetic. I mean, even in My Best Friend's Wedding, like Dylan McDermott can kind of hold his own. Is that him?
Yeah. You always get him mixed up with the other one.
Or is it Dermot Mulroney? I think it's Dermot Mulroney. Sorry. But that's also Cameron Diaz and Julia Roberts. Like, you put them together in a scene. Like, they should be in more buddy comedies or something. They were great together.
You did an episode on My Best Friend's Wedding for F This Movie.
And it was... Which pisses people off.
And it was one of the first things I heard you on where I, like, freaked out and, like, was tweeting to you. Like, I was like, that chick fucking gets it! Like the Meryl Streep, like, gif, her applauding and pointing. I was like, yes.
To this day.
Because there are great things about that movie. And then there are things about that movie that are problematic. And Margo was pointing them out. And I was like, she fucking gets it. Because she does.
It's okay to point out problematic things.
Yes.
Like, some people just don't. They don't want to hear it. And I don't know. That's just childish to me. I mean, like, I think it's okay to have more complex relationship with a thing. And I think it's okay, like with Mystic Pizza, it's got to be all about the men, which it doesn't have to, but that's the way it was at the time.
Yeah.
Like they need if there's a hint of a romance, we need some sort of, it has to wrap up in some sort of way that we can closure. We have to have something with it. So that's why Adam Stork keeps showing up in scenes after a while. Like, I don't really care this guy anymore. Like, can't you hook up with somebody in the band or something? Like,
seriously, when I was watching it, I was wondering, are they making it all their stories revolve around men because that's what we just did in the movies in the 80s for women? Or is it because a lot of us were like that in the 80s too, because we were told that that's what you should do?
That goes back.
Yeah.
So that goes back. I mean, romantic love and all that goes back a couple of 100 years. But as far as like media and what women want and post-wave feminism, it's still revolved around, well, you're heterosexual, right? So you're going to want to be with a guy, right? So it's just finding the right guy. And it's never about like, maybe it's not right now. Maybe, or you date a few losers and then you find the right guy. It's sort of, there's this pressure to find the one.
Yes.
Even on, young little Kit. Is that her name? Kit or Cat? It's Kit. Cat. She's a baby. Like let her just go to school and have fun.
Yeah.
But she's even sort of feeling this. I really fucking hate William Moses in this movie for what he's doing. He's a pig. He's a piece of shit.
He is a piece of shit because he knows it too. He knows. He knows what he's doing, and he knows it's not over with his wife, and he's just bullshitting her. He's just trying to get in bed with the babysitter. It's gross.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck him.
Do you want to hear some of the other movies that came out in October 1988?
I do.
Okay. Alien Nation. Did you ever see that one?
Wasn't that a TV series?
It was a TV series after this. I think this one stars James Caan.
And Mandy Patinkin.
Yes. Look at you. Got such a good memory.
For this shit, yeah, I saw these movies all the time.
Yeah, this one played at my theater
nowadays.
too. Good one. What about Clara's Heart?
Let the good girl go. I think that's how the song goes. That's Neil Patrick Harris and Whoopi Goldberg.
That's right. Jeez.
God damn it, I'm good.
You are so good. I almost didn't put that movie on the list because I was like, no one wants to talk about Clara's Heart.
I didn't say I want to talk about it. I just remember it.
I know you remember this one. It's the documentary Imagine, which is about John Lennon.
I'm a Beatles geek. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even listen to the song Imagine. It makes me cry.
Yeah.
It makes me cry. Like I can't turn it fast enough when it comes on the radio. I'm like, and it's not because it's not a beautiful song. It's almost because it's too beautiful. It makes me cry.
I feel that way about Let It Be.
Yeah. Let It Be.
Especially when my mom died. Like after that, I'm like, okay, no, I can't. Nope. No.
That song hits. That song hits me.
It gives me the feels.
Yeah, it hits me in a soft spot. Punchline.
Yeah, oh God, we have to do this one day.
We do have
Tom
to do
Hanks,
this one.
Sally Field, they're stand-up comedians.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh God, yeah, we have to do this because I'm sure it ages terribly.
I'm writing it down. I think that would be a good one to talk about because I know we are both fans of the show Hacks that just came out, and one of the things we had talked about off mic was like things that are about stand-up comedy, and then the stand-up comedy isn't funny in it. And I think Hacks was funny when it was supposed to be, and it was hacky when it was supposed to be. And what I remember about Punchline is the stand-up not being terribly funny.
No, it's all sad.
Yeah.
And angry. And we have to talk about it because I have thoughts.
Okay. I wrote it down.
Okay.
Also, The Accused came out.
That's a bummer of a movie. That's a tough movie.
Such a bummer. Looking forward to that musical. No, I'm just kidding. That's not happening. It's not happening. I'm totally kidding. That's not happening. It is a good movie. It's a fucked up movie. That played at my theater too. And I was like,
I can't imagine hearing that.
Just like every day, it's like, I hate, not good. Pumpkinhead.
Okay.
On the flip side, there's Pumpkinhead.
You actually, that was too much of a left turn for me. Okay, I don't remember that.
Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
These are not the good Halloweens. They're kind of not great.
They all have their fans, that's for sure. That one played at my theater and it made money. And I just remember I hated going in during the credits to clean or anything like that because the music gave me the creeps. The Halloween theme gave me the creeps. Did you ever see the movie Tapeheads? Of course.
It's John Cusack and Tim Robbins.
Yes.
And it's Mike Nesmith. And I worked with Mike Nesmith from the Monkees on a book.
I did not know that.
It's one of his first fiction books. I have a lot of Mike Nesmith stories. He's a very kooky guy.
Ooh, we should talk about
nothing bad. He's not a bad person. He didn't do anything weird to me or anything like that. He's a gentleman, but a total fucking kook.
That is good. What a creep bonus content. Yep. Not that he's a creep, because you said he's not, but it's still fun to talk about.
He's a kook.
We had Tapeheads at my theater. I saw Tapeheads many, many times. I had a huge crush on both Tim Robbins and John Cusack.
Same.
And the music was super fun. If I remember correctly, the band's name was the Swanky Modes or something like that they were trying to manage or something. I don't know. But I just remember thinking that movie was super fun. And it's not a movie I hear about anymore. And I should rewatch it because I bet it's still pretty fun. And then the last one is Without a Clue. Do you remember this
is that
one?
Michael Caine?
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're so good.
I went to the movies all the time. So this is Sherlock Holmes, but Sherlock Holmes is an idiot.
Yes.
It's actually Watson that solves all the crimes.
Yeah, and I think Ben Kingsley is the Watson.
I love Michael Caine when he's playing an idiot. I love that.
You need a movie with like an idiot Michael Caine and an angry Julia Roberts.
Oh my God, yes. Please, universe.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Oh my God. Okay, so I picked a few songs. We probably talked about them before because we talked about 88 a few times. But anyway, When in Rome, The Promise. Still like that song.
Yeah, that's a good one.
My brother Joe loved the song. I have no idea why, but it was Johnny Hates Jazz, Shattered Dreams.
Oh my gosh, you couldn't get away from that song back in the day.
He still liked it. I was like, okay. Robert Palmer, Simply Irresistible.
Yep.
Catchy as shit. Phil Collins, A Groovy Kind of Love. I like that song.
That was a good song.
It's a good song. It's a great remake. It's better than the original, I think. Tracy Chapman, Fast Car. Great song.
Such a good song.
I love this song. Joan Jett, I Hate Myself for Loving You.
I love Joan Jett.
Dope.
I love that song. And she is playing at an outside music festival in San Francisco this summer. And I think I might even try to venture in. It's free. What? And Joan Jett is playing. So I might wander in. Maybe I'll stand way in the back and mind my business and then leave after Joan Jett.
They had these, I don't remember what it was called, but when I worked for Fitness Magazine, it was like a run through Central Park, and they do it in other places too. And they have a band like every mile or so. And she was the biggest band. Like when you were done running like for me was never my forte.
Right.
But by the time you got up there, I remember she played the song and then Light of Day from the song Light of Day starring Michael J. Fox.
Oh
It
my
was really
gosh,
great.
that movie.
That movie I'd love to see.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll put that down on the list too. All
Yeah.
right, Light of Day. You're going on the list.
And then Smithereens, Only a Memory. I just love the Smithereens.
Me too.
Yeah, they're a great band.
They are so good. I'm writing down. What movie did we say? Light of Day.
Yes.
All right, Light of Day. I love the Smithereens too. Good choices. What else are you dorking out about, Margo?
I just started watching Apple Plus yesterday, and it's a show called Physical.
Oh,
I've
heard of
commercials
it.
for it. So it's Rose Byrne. It's 1980. She's got big hair, and she's really slim. There's trigger warning, I would say, because she has lots of food and body issues.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of her dialogue, her inner dialogue is like she fat shames herself when she's not fat, of course.
Yes.
And she has some, bulimia issues, but she also fat shames fat people. So that's kind of, it's tough. She's not a great person, is my point. Like,
Right.
She's not a hero, but she's the protagonist in the story. And her husband's this bozo that loses his job teaching at a college. And he likes to just get high with his friends. And so she kind of falls into teaching aerobics. And then she discovers that if you say mantras to people when they're working out, they get really into it. And there's a funny scene where she steals somebody's video camera from their home. She has an argument with them and just steals their video equipment, which is gigantic in the 80s. Like,
Yes.
It's just this big thing. But she decides to start the video revolution, like doing exercise videos. I'm only halfway through. It's like they put up the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then they'll do it weekly from now on.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I would say with those trigger warnings, if you are someone with like food issues or body issues, it may not be your cup of tea. And she's kind of an asshole. She's not a great person, but there was lots of times I was laughing out loud. I think very much with 80s, it's hard to get it right because people just make it extreme.
Yes.
I think they overdo it. And it's like, oh, hi, isn't it stupid here? Like, these people are so lame with their scrunchies and shit. And I think this just it's a little more level-headed than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed it. I mean, she, like I said, she's an asshole, but I'm kind of into the story.
Is it an hour long or half hour?
I can't remember. I'm sorry. I
That's
think
okay.
It's like around a half an hour, though. I don't think it's like that much of a commitment.
I am intrigued. I do love 80s stuff.
I do too. And she gets it right.
Does she ever cross paths with Jamie Lee Curtis from Perfect?
No, but you get a lot of that. Like, I'm sure they had to have watched that movie like 100 times, like to get and watched every Jane Fonda video. And I don't know about you, my mom had a lot of Jane Fonda videos that she would play all the time.
I remember taking aerobics in high school because I am old, and instead of like having like someone actually teach us, they would play Jane Fonda videos. And so I watched a lot of Jane Fonda workout videos because I was very obsessed with aerobics and hitting a certain goal weight,
Yes.
because high school in the 80s.
Yeah, well, that's the culture of the time.
Yeah.
I said this once when I was for Fit Bottom Girls podcast. This is a long time ago, but I love like old 80s, 70s, and 80s People magazines. I love looking up that shit for other shows.
Mm-hmm.
They used to list in People magazine, they used to list for actresses, not only their age, which is a weird thing they do in America with publications. They always put people's age, but they used to put their height and weight.
That's fucking crazy to me.
As part of their descriptor. Farrah Fawcett, 5'6", 115 pounds. Like, it's like, why, how could you possibly know this? Did they take like a scale out or something? But it was part of the descriptor. Like, you were supposed to be really skinny.
Damn. I totally forgot that was a thing. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? That kind of reminds me a little bit of, we both have watched that documentary Athlete A about,
yes.
And they were showing old footage of the Olympics back in the day, the female gymnasts, and how they were like normal people.
Mm-hmm.
like grown ass women doing gymnastics. And now, like, I was watching, I guess it would be the US trials for the Olympics, and they're all so little.
Yeah.
They're just these little people. They're all...
Simone Biles is badass.
She is badass.
Is that and that's her name?
Yeah, you got it right. That's who I was watching last night. She is badass. I'm in awe of like how strong these women are and the things they can do. They're so muscular, but they're all little. They're so little.
Very petite. Yeah.
Just the pressure. The pressure must be too much. That's why it reminded me of that, just the pressure.
Yeah.
I've been revisiting like my comfort movies because I'm still displaced from my house and I just need some comfort. And for some strange reason, I was in the mood to watch the movie Mother by Albert Brooks. I wonder why.
Oh.
Why would I want to revisit that movie? I don't know why. I don't know. I've probably talked about this movie before on the podcast, but there are some movies that just make me laugh really, really, really hard. And one of them is Mother by Albert Brooks, with Debbie Reynolds as his mother. And Albert Brooks has been divorced twice, and he's trying to figure out his relationship with women. So he moves back in with his mother to figure out their relationship and then take what he learns and apply it to his life. And their scenes together are so fucking funny. Like, she was a national treasure. And you can see where Carrie Fisher got like her sense of humor. She's so good in this movie at like being sometimes clueless, sometimes really wise. It's a delicate balancing act, and he's really, really funny in it. We've talked about Albert Brooks before. We did an episode on Defending Your Life and how much we both love him in broadcast news, which is 100% on our list. Don't worry, we're going to get there. And I just love this movie. It's streaming right now. You can rent it on, Amazon or Apple Plus or any of those things, but it's hilarious. I think came out in 1996. So after Defending Your Life, I just can't recommend it enough. It's one of my comfort movies. And I think it's really smart. It's really smart.
When she had the thing, is that the one where she has the ice crystals on her ice cream?
Yes.
And she says that keeps it fresh.
It's just, you have to look below the protective ice.
My mother used to do that. My mother had everything in the freezer. And my brother and I, when she was sick and we had to help clean it, she would get so mad. We would throw things away. And she would come over, and she'd be with her walker coming over, don't you put that away. She was convinced that tomato sauce, if it had that green stuff that formed on top, that was good, because underneath that meant the sauce was really, really ready.
See, it's the movie's so insightful about, it's not even just this movie specifically is about about a mother and a son, but you could take, there's so much, it's really about your relationship with your parents and how you see them as, you only see them as your mother or as your father, and not always as the person that they are. You just see them as this one thing, and he's trying to see beyond that, but there's also just those little things that you're ugh, parents, the protective ice, the putting everything in the freezer.
Everything. She had guacamole in the freezer.
He's Mom, you can't put everything in the freezer. That's why it's smaller than the refrigerator.
Right. I relate to that so well. That's just our generation too. I mean, you didn't waste food.
Yeah. There's stuff in the movie that my sister and I quote. I mean, just every time we see each other. And one is he spends all this money to buy this fancy jam. She calls it fancy jam because it's got all this beautiful wrapping and a label or whatever. And it's $10 instead of just getting Concord Welch's grape jelly or something. And she's making fun of him. And he's come on, Mom, it's the 90s. It's fancy jam time. And my sister and I just say that to each other all the time. We just say it's fancy jam time whenever we spend money. I just love it. It's one of my comfort movies. So if you haven't seen
artisanal.
If you haven't seen Mother, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites. And I'll probably come back next week with another comfort movie because that's just, that's my jam right now.
That's a good jam.
Yeah. And honestly, Mystic Pizza was fun to rewatch. Like I said, maybe I don't love that they're all about men, but there is like a comfort factor to this movie. I watched it a lot when I was younger. So a lot of the beats were super familiar and it was fun to revisit. So good pick, Jennifer, for that
Yeah,
one.
thank you, Jennifer.
You're such a good listener, Jennifer, and a good friend. Where can people find you on the internet, Margo?
You can find me on social media, mostly at Twitter and Instagram, Brooklyn Fit Chick. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com.
And if you like the sound of our voices, and who wouldn't, you
Right?
can listen to us also at What a Creep podcast, where we talk about creeps from the past and the present, not the future yet.
We can't look that far yet.
I have to say, we're pretty spot on though. We have
Yeah.
good timing, I'll just say. And we end every episode with someone who's not a creep. It's super fun. There's a What a Creep podcast group that you can go to and ask to join. You'd have to answer some questions though, so you'd probably have to listen to What a Creep to get in, but you could try. There's other dorks in there. And you can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and the TikTok. And of course, if you're listening to us right now on Apple Podcasts and you want to give us a review, that would be great. It would really offset the reviews that give us 1 star because they don't like our voices.
And our cackles.
And they're like, and then they drink Chardonnay, which Margo doesn't do because it tastes like gasoline.
To me.
To you. Other
I
people
don't need
like
anything buttery in my wine. No, thank you.
I put butter in my wine.
You put ghee. You put ghee in your wine.
Yeah, I don't want
Vegan.
Yeah, I'm a vegan. I put margarine in my wine. Ew, gross. That makes me want to puke. Anyway, thanks for talking about Mystic Pizza with me, Margo.
This was a lot of fun.
It was.